Hey guys, Road Warrior back here again. I wanted to go over tools and equipment here on Fishing Planet to help a lot of my fellow players. A lot of players will be joining the game still, and I do have times when I stream, people ask me simple questions. There's not much of a tutorial on tools and equipment, that sort of thing. A lot of tutorials, just not in general here on Fishing Planet, kind of just leaves you left out on a limb. With that being said, I'm going to go through each individual thing here and kind of explain this to a lot of players that are beginning the game. If you're struggling and that sort of thing, this is definitely the video for you. Starting here with the Keepnets, again, take advantage of this area over here. You can go through, look at the Keepnet stringers. That is a very, very crucial thing here, and I'm just going to go in order and kind of explain each one to you. You might find an instance where the game sometimes lures stringers, that sort of thing. Make sure that you're not buying bait coin stringers. You don't need to do something like that. A big tip here when you're trying to figure out as you're leveling up in this game, go over and do a little research on your own. You can simply do that by looking at the fish species. If you particular example here would be Emerald Lake, we know everybody's going to be going for the walleye. Since they only go to trophy there, then you can figure out what size they are. Then you can simply correspond that to your actual keep net or stringer until you level up to a certain extent. So just kind of following along, you can use the same principle as you level up through the game. Simply go over here, look at the fish records, go down to the particular fish that you're trying to target, or the money fish we all know would be the walleye, knowing that that's 5 pounds. Trophy 5-pounder there, as you can see, that's the biggest fish at Emerald. That would be the lake you're fishing at, so that is the fish record currently. So then you know, ballpark where you need to be as far as the max size fish and that sort of thing. If you're flying along here, then simply keep on the keep net. Also, make sure again that you're comparing keep nets with stringers. There might be certain circumstances throughout the game to where you want to keep net. Simply to compare the two on where you're at on your level, click on both of those. Make sure you take advantage of this interface here, or the side there on the accessories. You can click on those, compare the two. Moving on to rod stand or rod cases. A lot of people have stopped by when I'm streaming. How come I only have one rod? How do you guys have 5, 6, or 7? Simply looking at here, I'll go over these briefly. Some of them will carry more reels, to each their own. Again, I wouldn't spend bait coins on anything on this, because as you level up, you will unlock more. You know, it's usually 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, that sort of thing. Ultimately, you end up with 7, but I just kind of want to walk you through the rod cases as well. Again, we have a lot of new players that are entering. If you did not know how to set a rod up, simply go to your rod there at your home inventory, match a corresponding reel. Once you click the reel on, simply match up your line. Good rule of thumb is if it's a 20-pound setup, 20-pound line, 20-pound reel, that sort of thing. If you need help on those other things, I do have a playlist on rod and reel reviews that I go into a more detailed on each rod class in the game, if you do need that. Once you got a bobber on here, obviously, then go down, click on your hook. You'll notice that will go from red once you get everything right. It can be a little tricky when you first begin the game. Once you get a hook on, obviously, from there, you're going to want to go and put a bait. You'll see that turns from red to green, and then you're ready to fish. Looking at this rod case, since it holds 3, then simply you can have other options just to fill in those voids. Again, tackle templates. If you need some help on these templates, they do help, and a big time savers. I do also have a video on that on my gears and setup playlist. As you can see, the speed of which is definitely a lot to your advantage here, as if you've already got some presets set up. So in this particular instance, we got a spinning setup, a float setup, and a bottom setup or a feeder setup. Moving on here to vest and just basically jackets here. These things are basically designed to keep sometimes extra lines. Ultimately, your tackle. Tackle can cover also your lures, hooks, sinkers, bobbers, all of the above. So kind of pay attention as you're leveling up through the game. Again, buy which one makes the most sense for you at your current level. Do a little research. You know, you don't want to buy one a little too early. If you simply level up, you can get a better one, with just a little extra fishing. That will save you money in the long run. Buy what you need. Again, make sure you do the research and see what you're going to want to do. Everybody has their own preference on which they want to lure fish, bait fish, or a little bit of both. More times than not, you might be heavier on the bait, that sort of thing. But just kind of paying attention there what the total number is. Ultimately, that is the one that you might like. All of them are created a little differently. Moving on to the tackle box, same kind of a thing here. Keynote on these things that you'll notice is some of them carry more tackle as some of them might carry more components. By the components, I mean that would be like chum, what they call chum chests, which would be ground baits, particles, that sort of thing. So later on in the game, when you probably hit level 40, 50, somewhere in there, that will be more of a advantage to have one that carries more chum. Again, depending on what you're doing, you might want to carry more tackle or ground components. Ultimately, what you'll find out towards the end of the game here, or the end game currently, where we're stuck, where you end up with tackle wagons, you'll notice that you might, particular situation for myself, I was just playing in the Bream thing to where I transferred the tackle wagon, as you can see here. Just kind of look through those. You'll see different ground bait components there at the bottom on each description. I did switch those out, and you might find that you carry one of each for a particular tournament or something you might play in, and that's why I was just saying to kind of keep a keynote there. You might end up with both, even on tackle boxes, depending on what you want to do. Okay, so that's pretty self-explanatory there as you guys navigate, but I just wanted to let you guys know that is what those are for. Moving on to rod stands. Kind of the keynote for me is, not only just the number here, you'll find whether it's a single rod stand that's only going to hold one rod. Max will be 4. I want to say level 41, 40, somewhere in there would be the difference that will change for you is the bite alarms. That was kind of a cool thing. And I'll get into something here briefly as we just go through here. But again, a lot of these are self-explanatory, but basically those are your rod stands. If you're wanting to fish with multiple rods, if you're wanting to have a bait rod out while you're lure fishing, it's usually pretty fun, keeps the action going. As you notice there, that says bite alarm yes. With that being said, again, the most max currently on Fishing Planet here would be this one that's available there at a level, I think, 50. So that is 4 of those that you can hold. Also, just a quick tip, a long time ago, boy, you guys are lucky now. If you go to the audio, if you find yourself where the bait alarm's driving you crazy, go down here and you can go on your settings, go to audio. I got that all the way down to 2%, but you can adjust that accordingly. That is a big tip there if you don't want to sit and listen to the bite alarm go off. That is very annoying. Back in the day, we did not have that. It was at full blast. Also here, guys, briefly, I will cover sunglasses. I do get this question quite often on my channel. I did buy just the generic glasses here for 100 Bitcoins. I didn't buy them early on in the game, though. I would only buy those once, you got enough Bitcoins. I haven't ever seen the difference in some of the other ones. They could be a different color, that sort of thing. You will also notice if you take part in the events, Halloween, St. Patty's Day, Christmas, sometimes, as you can see there, various glasses that I've got, Halloween even, there on the inventory. You can pick those up for free by just simply doing missions, as well as your catapults. Now, this is a perfect example here. People ask, but you can see a drastic difference here. You will notice that, man, the glare on this game's horrible at times when it's really sunny, but you can see this is a drastic difference, but that would be why you would buy the actual glasses, just to kind of prevent. That's a lot easier to fish. Again, just kind of showing you here in the event that you were considering buying glasses, you can see that this is a difference. Okay, moving on here, again, just kind of showing you something as well as the tackle templates is a time saver. Let's say you got rods, 7 rod cases. You can see the speed at which you can simply, once you have those set up, you also find sometimes if there's something missing, it's usually a leader. That will be annoying later on in the game for you, but just kind of wanted to show you there that in action. Okay, also I'm just going to navigate through here and just kind of showing you. I do have a lot of inventory, so it's kind of tough for me to put this video together with the amount of storage that I do have. But I'm just transferring baits over here. So if you're looking down as you kind of navigate yourself through that icon there is for your baits. Obviously, you can move stuff over. And you'll find what you can hold is in that lower right part of your screen right now. We're 17 out of 100 if you look at the lower right corner. Going on here, just kind of setting up a generic little setup with the low level stuff. You will find that you can get that hat, catching a bunch of fish there that comes with a light at Emerald Lake for catching X number of fish. So if you're wondering how I got that hat, and just kind of showing you through here, a good idea is to make sure that you're using barbless hooks early on in the game. They will give you a 20% increase on every fish caught. Any barbless tackle, 20% per fish, XP, that's quite a bit. So just kind of showing you what your tackle box could look like. Again, to each their own. You might have different setups but it does help to carry a little extra stuff. As you can see there, I'm just kind of filling the inventory here on my avatar on a lower level setup. That's kind of showing you what a bait assembly could look like there. You could have a little bit for catfish, predator fish, that sort of thing. And again, just kind of budget those things out. You only get, a limited amount of space, early on in the game, but this is what it could look like. Some insects, as well as maybe some shiners, small minnows, that sort of thing. Now moving on here to kind of how to set up an event. You guys did not know this. This is just a simple, just put a jig head on there if you wanted to. As well as you'll see, as soon as you put a jig head on or a spinner or buzz bait, that sort of thing, then you can pair and even put on plastics. It wouldn't hurt to have multiple plastics in your tackle box as well. That way you're kind of prepared for anything that you might encounter at a current lake, whether you're lure fishing or bait fishing. As you can see there, it does help to have a little bit of assembled. Maybe you want some nymphs, a worm, a crayfish. That way you got kind of majority of the fish species at that lake covered. And that's kind of a general rule of thumb I used to follow, is I usually have a crayfish or a nymph or a crayfish, shad, and a worm. That usually covers the majority of the fish at each lake when I would go to fish. Also, moving on here just quick, maybe you wanted a crankbait. Just to throw that in here, just kind of showing you how to transfer. You're at the home. Basically what that means, this is everything that's stored at your home base. Your backpack actually is what you're going to carry to the lake with you. You'll find if you want to maximize your money and your time, ultimately what you want to do is make sure that you're prepared before you go on your fishing trip. If you're leaving and coming home constantly, you have to pay for the travel expenses and that sort of thing, and that will eat up a lot of your money here on Fishing Planet. It can trap you into going back to Lone Star, and you generally do not want to do that. I see that happen to players more times than not. Again, if you didn't know how to do that, bass jig, same kind of a thing here. If you like spinners, if you wanted a pair of spinner, I do have lure guides if you want more in-depth thing for every lure class, but just simply showing you how to set this up. Maybe you want a spinner, then you can go back up here where the jig heads are. Now you got a spinner with a bass worm on it. That's a very, very good setup there as well. You'll notice too, if you just want to swap out, you can put on nymphs or whatever. Also, looking here at your lines, that kind of goes coupled with your vest. Sometimes your tackle box as well. You can carry, currently I can carry 6 lines here, so that will give you some extra line if need be. I will also go over some other stuff here as well in this video. I wanted to show you a couple things here in the event that you're going to find, let's say you're wanting to carry extra reels. Now the way this works is early on you can't carry too many extra reels. With that being said, I just kind of wanted to show you a little trick here. I've got a lot of inventory. What you'll see here, since I've got a 3 rod case, as soon as I click that, it says backpack full, right? Okay, so there's 2 options. One, the trick that I used to use, you could just, even if you have a rod case that carries 3 rods, you can unequip one of those and bring an extra reel. And why you'd want to do that, so you could stay at the lake longer. And I'll kind of show you kind of a workaround here. What I used to do, as you can see there, those current vests right there that you could purchase doesn't carry any extra reels. As you can see, it's 4 for 4. So now I've got a rod case that holds 4. You could go 3 down to 2, and you'll kind of follow along here with what I'm saying. In conclusion here, as you can see, I'm carrying 2 extra breamers by simply leaving those rods blank. So I got a spinning rod and another float rod, that sort of thing, as you can follow along. And the cool part about these little 13-pound setups is they also got the Laker Max, and you can carry extra line. That is a big advantage too. So again, if you have the Nero, as well as the Jig Winner, as well as the Laker Pro, you've got a bottom rod, basically a spinning rod, and you also have a float rod on one trip, and you got one blank spot. But however, if you notice here, since the breamer matches up with all of them, again, also a tip that I should follow myself is sometimes I put a little bit too much line on. Generally speaking, you won't need that much line, so you can just trim that line down, transfer over, and you're kind of set up more for a long-term trip here. As you can see, I'll just set this up real quick for you, and you'll notice here on this setup, I've got a float rod. Now, okay, again, looking close here, that is one of a template I have. Again, going back here, this is all 13-pound setups. That's great for low-level guys. If you had something like this set up, you are ready to fish. You've got all your baits, tackle, that sort of thing. I do believe that this should help you guys out tremendously. As you can see there, I've got an extra reel. I got one blank space in my rod case. You can do this, two down to or three down to two, that sort of thing. But as you can see, I can set that up. We've got a float rod with extra line, leader if you need it, that sort of thing. You are ready to set and fish. I do truly hope this helps you guys out. Feel free to rewind. Sometimes I do talk fast, but I think you guys can understand what I did there. I hope this helps you out with your tools and equipment. Take care. See you in the next